Boom.
Hey
Welcome
everyone, welcome back to episode 5 of This Side of Heaven.
This Side of Heaven.
I'm Paris.
And I am Caulin. We are your hosts of the podcast. We are a podcast that talks about relationships,
Life,
and culture, and little things sprinkled in there in between, but mainly those things. But yeah, welcome back. If you've already been listening to the first 4 episodes, welcome back. We appreciate you being here. Love the support. Keep it going. And if you're new, welcome. Make sure you like and you comment and you subscribe. You do all those good things. Follow us on Spotify, on Instagram. All that stuff will be linked down below. If you want to find us on there and join us there, that would be greatly appreciated, and we would love you for it, even more than we already do. But
and then I do want to mention too, last episode we did say that we were going to give away a $50 gift card for the person who liked, subscribed, and followed our account. But we filmed 2 episodes today because we had malfunctions last week. So we are actually going to reveal that winner next week on episode number 6.
Yeah, so that was a really good point. So yeah, we had some malfunctions this past week, so we have to do a double filming session tonight in order to stay on the weekly schedule. We released.
Did you just change your shirt?
Yeah, I did. Sweating in the other one. It's so
People
hot.
are like, why is she in the same outfit, but he's changed into something different?
Well, it's a different week.
I know. I should have wore something else.
No. It doesn't matter. I mean, hey, we're honest. This is a real podcast, raw podcast. We're putting in the extra work for you guys. But yeah, so is there anything else that I missed?
Nope. That was everything. Oh, yeah. And then the timestamp scrubbing.
If you're watching on YouTube, down below, I'll only mention this like for a few episodes, and then hopefully you get it. But right down below, when you're watching, you can kind of jump through the chapters of the episode. So if you're just interested in just one thing or like a couple things, jump ahead and you can kind of get a preview of like what we're going to be talking about. So I don't mind if you do that. She doesn't mind if you do that. But yeah, so we're going to get right into it. So this episode is, she didn't know until like a minute and a half ago. But if you were watching episode 2, Paris interviewed me and asked me a little bit about who I was. So now the tables have turned, and I'm
actually glad that you didn't tell me, because I probably would have got nervous.
Yeah, that's why I didn't tell you. See, I know.
I would have had a bad day.
Yeah, see, like this is why we're getting married.
I would have been anxious all day.
Yeah.
Although my hands are kind of sweaty right now.
Mine were sweaty when you asked me, but I'll go easy on you. Trust me. She does get nervous for these things, but I'm already proud of you for doing it. So hang tight, babe. Don't worry, I'm here. Winston's here.
I just said get up and walk out in the middle.
An emotional support animal. He's here. Just hold him. But yeah, we're gonna get right into it. So a little backstory, if you don't feel like going back and watching episode 2 or 1, we've known each other for about 16 years. We are getting married in 2 months, exactly 58 days. This is our dog Winston. He likes to be on us at all times. But yeah, so we've known each other for a long time. So I know Paris very well, or at least I think I do. But I guess we'll find out in this episode. But yeah, no. Anyway, we've just known each other for a very long time, and so it's kind of an introductory episode for you guys to get to know Paris. And hopefully I learned something new. Who knows? And Winston learned something new about his mom. So
he said, I know everything about my mommy.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. I don't know which one I want to start off with, but let's just hear about who you are. You kind of asked me the whole elevator pitch version of yourself. And then make sure your mic is close so we can hear you. We need to get all the details. She's going to run away. Yeah, so in your short little blurb of who you are, who are you? Where did you come from? And yeah.
It's so funny when you prep me for this, because for my job, I literally have to ask people this about
You
like
talk
20
all day.
times a day.
Yeah, you talk all day.
So like I'm on the reverse side. So thinking of someone saying, "Tell me about yourself," it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm cringing. But
Well, no, just like a really quick
no, yeah. So
overview, synopsis on your life and like where you come from, and yeah, and like your family maybe. But
overall, let's think where I want to start. So, I'm Paris. As if you listen to the first episode, I am a recruiter, so I specialize in HR, and I work with a few different clients.
wait, you're not a
here.
podcaster
No.
for a living?
This is my weekend gig. But I do that for a living, and I work with a few clients here in Pittsburgh and help place candidates or people in a new position. So that's a little bit, well,
You don't have to tell me.
no, I'm
You have to
telling
tell
you
them.
so you know what I do. So when someone asks you, you get the thing,
I
you get
said
it right.
you're. Oh, yeah,
But
sorry, go ahead.
I do that for a living. I actually really enjoy it. I like making people happy and helping them find a job that they enjoy. But generally, overall, I always have had an interest in people. And I actually was really excited when Colin asked about doing this podcast. I was naturally nervous because I'm really shy and a private person, but just the opportunity to connect with people on a deeper level really excites me. I love to know how people's brains work. I'm very good at reading people and understanding like kind of why people do the things they do or how they operate. I don't know what it is. Since I was young, I've always just really had that in me. And generally speaking, I think I would like to say I have a big heart towards people. I love to help other people and be there for other people to help see them succeed in their life. I think that's why I like my position kind of for work, because it kind of translates throughout my whole life. But outside of that, growing up, well, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and I've lived here my whole life. So I haven't really experienced the world other than travel, but that's about it. But no, I have a older brother and a younger sister. I'm the middle child. And trying to
Shout
think
out to
what
your
else.
brother and your sister, which we will
Have
have on the
them on the
podcast
podcast.
at some point.
But growing up, I was like kind of in between. I started when I was younger. I was more of a tomboy, so I did more things that
You
my
would
brother.
not think that just looking at her.
Yeah, I actually like wanted to
Very
always be
interesting.
involved with things that my
Which I
brother
like.
did. And I would always want to be included. And he always used to get so frustrated. My mom was like, "You have to take Paris too." And he was like so annoyed. But it's so funny because as I got older, like some of the things he did, I would do with him. Like every day after work or after school, he would get home and make me play Guitar Hero with him, but we only could play on hard or expert. So he like literally made me do it every day until I was
Tough love.
good. But no, I think I played volleyball for a little bit, and then did competitive cheerleading. But I'd like to think I'm athletic, but I
She's
think it
very
depends on
athletic
what
for
I'm
a
doing.
female.
Sometimes
Your whole family's athletic.
I don't know. I
You're
think
all
it
athletic.
depends what I'm doing. Like sometimes I can be, and sometimes I'm like can be completely opposite. Like
Yeah,
I'm
but for a female, you're very athletic.
super
Yeah.
clumsy. But and then other than that, I'm trying to think what else. I went to school around here. I worked and went to college, so I didn't end up going away. I'm pretty much a homebody. I love being around my family, so that worked out for me. It's not for everybody, but it was the perfect way for me to really still see my family, but go to school and get a degree. So I really enjoyed that. And then after that, I just pursued my career, and that's pretty much what got me to where I am here. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I've really never had to give a background for myself in a long time. So
yeah, no. I think
sorry
that's a
if
good way
that's
to.
kind of like drawn out, but
No, it was good. No, I think that's a good. It's pretty accurate representation on or of who you are. It's good. Yeah.
I have a little bit of creativity in me, not as much as you, but I don't think that's like the first thing that comes to mind when I describe myself.
Kind of mentioned this in a previous episode. I forget which episode, but
yeah.
like your creativity is a little bit different than mine, but you're a creative thinker and I'm just like creative. I make things look pretty and I can do all this stuff, but
yeah,
I think, or I know, I believe that we complement each other well in that sense. But yeah, but moving on. So I have these questions in like a Rolodex in my brain, but so it'll just be rapid fire. But what's one thing about your childhood that you remember that kind of shaped who you are today and your view on the world? Like,
Okay.
is there anything that you can like specifically remember? Oh, that like changed my life or influenced me as a kid, and now it's like with me forever.
I'm not going to
Meeting
think,
me.
I think I'm not going to go deep into this one because this was literally immediately the first thing that popped into my mind. So I'm just going to go with it. And
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
not
good.
anything
Yeah.
that is like
It,
earth
this is
shattering,
going to be
but
rapid fire.
when I was young, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and I love pets. That's like one thing. I am just obsessed with animals, and like
You're a
anytime I
very
go
good pet
anywhere,
mom.
I'm like, I go to someone's house and I always go to say hi to the dog first. But I just like I don't know what it
This is
is. I'm
true.
just such a people. I mean, well, I do like people too, but I do love animals,
Yeah.
and I always wanted to be a vet growing up, and I had always kind of had that idea in my mind that I was going to go to school and be a vet and help animals. And then we were driving home one day in the car, and it was my mom in the front seat, and I was in the passenger seat, and a deer had gotten hit on the road, and
You were probably
this is
mortified.
this is just traumatized. I can like still see it in my mind, but it had gotten hit, and it had, I think, either two of its four legs were broken, and it would try and stand up, but then it would fall back down, and it kept doing the same thing over and over. And we were sitting in the car. My mom didn't want to go around because she didn't know if it was going to get up or what it was going to do. So we just had to sit there, and I like started like bawling my eyes out just from seeing this deer on the road struggling, and like it just broke my heart. And my mom looks at me and she was dead serious. She's like, Paris, I don't think you can be a vet. And I was like, this is so
Watching a
true.
deer get hit by
I
a
mean,
car.
it was just
Actually,
so sad.
well, no, it just happened to us when we were driving home from your parents' house.
I know.
It was like a month ago. It was at night. We
And
saw
we
a
had,
deer,
and we literally
a big
had,
deer get hit, and
and I
it
made
like kind
him
of did the
turn
same thing.
around to see what happened to it because I was
Yeah,
like so
we
nervous that it was
we
still
made a
on the
U-E.
road.
We had to go check on the deer.
Oh my God. But like when I see like, it's just like so sad when I see any video online, or like I've seen a few dead cats on the road, and like my heart, I don't know.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, it just like bothers me so much. So I don't know.
So
I
just
like
like
it just,
so seeing that deer get hit just kind of triggered a deep care for
I think it was just because I'm like so
animals and
attached.
just
Yeah. Like I
life
just,
itself.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think I have such like a caring personality. So when I see like whether it's like a
Anyone
child,
who's
a
down and
parent,
out
or
like the
yeah,
deer.
like I just
Sorry,
feel
I don't
for
mean to
them.
be.
My brother always says, Paris, you're an empath, or he's like, we're both
This is
empaths, like
true.
we feel. And I'm like, I don't think I do. But then when I see stuff like that or hear someone tell a story that's like so upsetting, it just really tugs on the
Yeah.
heartstrings. So I get like extremely emotional, but I don't get as much emotional as I did when I was younger. But that's definitely something that changed like what I wanted to do in life, because I always thought that was going to be my career.
So how come you didn't pursue it? Was it only because that like you couldn't handle like
I
an
think it
animal
would be
being
the,
down
no, I
bad?
think, no, it's not down bad. No, I think that it has to do with like the emotion tied with it, because if you think about it, like people view
You
their
get too
yeah, people
emotionally
get like
attached to it.
people view their, I mean, essentially you view your pets as part of your family. And I think
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
say someone came in an emergency like in the middle of the night, or they came in like when we took Winston to the animal hospital, and like
Yeah.
say that you take your dog in there but you can't do
Oh,
anything,
you
and the
were a
dog
mess that night.
and the dog dies, like, and then you have
Yeah.
to be the one. I mean, it's no different than if you work in a hospital and someone passes away and you have to go tell them.
Yeah.
But like to
Yeah.
me, that would just be
It would
like,
be hard. It'd be
yeah,
hard
because
for
I
you.
feel like so many people, like whether you're like, if a lot of times, not, well, I don't know, but like I feel like when you live by yourself, or you're like not in a relationship or not close with family, like you have a pet as like a companion for
Mm-hmm.
just like it brings joy to your life. And so many people are in that situation, and to put like, to give people that sad news would just break my heart. And I think that that would be so hard, knowing that I couldn't like heal or fix every single animal that came
Yeah.
through. And I know that that's part of the job, and that's part of any job when you're like in a medical setting. But I just feel like
It
that
is.
would be too
Yeah.
hard for me. So
Interesting. I don't like. I can't remember if we did this in a previous episode, but I learned this from an old boss. It's a interview question that I've always liked, and it kind of gives a glimpse into like their priority. Or
is this the 3 apps?
yeah. So if you were only allowed to have 3 apps on your iPhone, what would they be? And it's excluding the built-in Apple app. So like phone, messages, email app, Safari. Actually, no. Those are not included. So any app.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any app,
Or
I think
your 3 apps.
I'm debating between the text, like the iMessage or the phone app. But I think phone, because you can eliminate like the miscommunication that happens over text. Because sometimes I feel like you text someone and it's like, what did they mean? So like
taken out of context or something.
So I think the phone app, maps, because my sense of direction is not the greatest. Oh my gosh,
Who's better, you or your dad?
Not to get off topic, but Colin had taken me to a doctor's appointment not too long ago, and I literally for the past year and a half have gone to this doctor once a month, and he was like, "We need to be in that lane." I was like, "No, the other lane," and then we literally looped around Pittsburgh, and we're completely disoriented all because
it was like a 28. It was like a 28-minute.
So I mean,
detour.
Maps is the second one, but who knows if that's even helpful for me? But it's better than like old school when you had to print out.
It's better than nothing.
And I think the third one would probably actually be the camera app. Yeah, the camera app. Even though I don't like take a lot of pictures, I feel like it's such a good way to capture memories. And if you don't have a camera, how are you going to remember those?
This is true.
I mean, it's not like when you go to a concert and you video the whole thing. Like, those people that are like, they're going to watch it back and it's like 30 minutes long of like a performance. I think just
where you watch the concert through another person's phone that's right in front of you.
Yeah, I think it's
blocking your view with the phone.
I definitely think it would probably be the camera if I'd have to say, because that's the best way to remember things. Like, as my grandparents, like I look back and like videos or photos I took with them now that they're passed, I think that means so much to me. Where I was like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, if I didn't have that would be hard for me.
Yeah. Okay. What's the next one I was going to ask you? Who did you look up to the most when you were growing up outside of your family?
Like, not my.
Because I don't want you to be.
It can't be like my grandma.
Yeah, so like a celebrity, athlete. Just who did you look up to the most? It can be serious. It can be funny. It can be.
I think that's a hard one. You answered like this when I asked you that. I don't even know.
I gave 2. I gave my dad and then Jeter on the Yankees.
Yeah.
But
mine is like more family based. I don't even know if there's anybody I really looked up to.
Okay, well then, who did you look up to in your family?
Well, I'm trying to think. I just feel like that was such a long time ago. Yeah. I don't like. No one comes into my mind like right away.
Okay, so who in your family? Who did you look up to?
I'm trying to hold on.
I said this is going to be rapid fire. It's going to be.
No, I'm like really trying to think.
She has no idea what I'm going to ask her.
Well, no, if it's not like immediate family, I would say my grandma for sure. I feel like she was such a good person, and
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, she had the best personality.
Which grandma?
My mom's one.
Yeah.
I don't think I had never heard her say a single negative thing about anyone or anything. She was always smiling, always happy.
Sadly, I never got to meet either of them.
I know. They were the best.
Just crazy after I've known you for 16 years.
I know. You would think like at a soccer game you would have met them, but
yeah.
No, I think that she was like the perfect person of like, or perfect image of like an angel on earth. Like, she was genuinely just like the kindest person, and I feel like the world needs more people like her. And that's why I love your grandma, because they're so similar.
And you say that my mom's mom.
Yeah, your grandma.
She's reminds very you similar. Of her.
But my grandma, I think too, like, depending on life and where you were at certain stages, or like how you grew up, like my grandma, I just view her as like such a fighter. She had a liver transplant when she was younger, and she was on dialysis for about 10 years, and she just like would never give up. She would go to dialysis 3 or 4 times a week, and she would be plugged into the machine for like, I think she had to be there for like 3 or 4 hours, and she wasn't allowed to get up. Like, you couldn't use the bathroom or you couldn't do anything, or they would restart the machine. And she would go there for 10 years, multiple times a week with my pap, and she would go. And I just remember thinking, like, that is like, how could you live like that? But then just seeing her like will to do it, and then her excitement when she would see her grandkids, or when she would just see like us, it just, you like would never know. But I think that was what was so special about her.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I've heard in the stories, and I know your mom really misses her parents a lot, and I mean, like, your whole family does. And,
I think so too.
Like, they're just so sweet.
Yeah.
But
It's always weird, like, but I think I'm so grateful in that aspect, because not even a lot of people get to meet their grandparents. So to grow up with all 4 of my grandparents was like, I was so lucky. So I wouldn't change that.
Yeah, and they left a pretty,
all of my grandparents are
life.
awesome, but I just feel like, just like, my grandma really stood out.
Yeah. He wants to steal the show. He wants to ask you a question.
He said, "Mommy, can I have treats later?"
What is your favorite color? Just real quick, just one word. What's your favorite color? No explanation.
Light pink.
Light pink. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Favorite musical artist?
So hard. I actually think it would be Matt Carney, even though I like a lot of different people. I think I like, and I don't know, I feel like I relate to his lyrics.
This podcast was named after one,
definitely
lyrics
that.
in his music. Yeah. Favorite food that I make you?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. Every time I eat your food, I'm like, it's better than the last one.
It's a good thing.
Gosh, I got asked that at work, like, what's your favorite thing that you make or your significant other makes? And I did say your lasagna. Even though we've only had that a few times, that's like,
and it's a dairy and nut-free option too. So,
and I really what was I going to say? God, I'm having a mind blank. Oh no, I was talking about at work how you make the noodles from scratch too. I think that's what makes it so good. We should have that this weekend.
Yeah, well, after Easter. What was the hardest thing that you've had to handle in life up to this point? It could be a moment. It could be just like, what was the hardest, what was the hardest thing that you've had to handle in your life so far? I have a freaking frog in my throat.
There's 2 things that come to mind, but I think that the first one is when I was in college. I think it was my sophomore year. I was in a relationship, and within the 3-month span, both of my grandparents passed away. So it was like probably a couple months before that, I had gone through a breakup, and then in February, my pap passed away, and then in February, my gran passed away, and then in May, my pap passed away. And I remember trying to go to school, and like, I had 8 a.m. classes, and it took me 30 minutes to get there, and I used to have to wake up early, and getting to class felt like the biggest challenge. I know it's like, it's weird to say that, but it just felt like it was such a weird time in my life, like losing 2 people that you care about. Like, the relationship obviously wasn't the most, like, it's a college relationship. You feel like it's not like the end all be all, but I think it was just the combination of all 3 things and how my life was changing. I actually ended up, after that semester, once my pap passed away, I ended up taking off the next semester because I was just like really having a hard time. And so then I made up the following semester in the summer, so I caught up to graduate in time. But I think that definitely was something that.
Well, so wait, you said there were 2 things. Were those the 2 things?
No, that's the one. But I'm just going to share the top one.
What's the other one?
That's.
Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Pass.
You don't want to share?
Yeah. No, that's fine. That was good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. We have like, hold on, let me check the time, because we're going to try and keep these under a half hour for you guys, or right on the half hour mark. So I'm just going to check Yeah, we probably have time for like 2 more questions. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer than a half hour, maybe like 35 minutes. Let's do a little bit of a dive into, so in episode 3, I talked about my lifelong battle with addiction and all that. And I think it's important for, like we made the promise when we did this podcast and we had this idea to, like to pursue this was to be open and honest with people and to like give insight on to what just regular, like regular people, how they deal with, the highs and lows in life. So my thing is, addiction. And you've mentioned, and like I've known this about you for, the longest time, that you have OCD. And I've obviously lived with you for 2 years, so I see it on a daily basis, but I don't, it's like you trying to understand addiction. It's like, I have OCD, but not to the extent that you do. So what does, well, one, what does that look like in your life? And, whether that's a practical example or something else, but what does that look like in your life? And then how you go about managing OCD. And I'll ask those 2 questions first because I have another one, but yeah, go ahead.
So when I was younger, I think it's a combination excuse me, of 3 things. It was a combination of anxiety, being a perfectionist, and OCD, because I feel like all of those go together, and you kind of if you do one, it's because of the other. So it's like, it's almost like a triangle, I feel like. But when I was younger, I was extremely, it depended what it was towards. Like, I was OCD in a sense of like things that were mine that I had control over. So like my bedroom, I was extremely OCD. Like I would make my bed and I would pull the sheets and the comforter a certain way, and the pillows had to be in a certain spot, and everything like had a spot. Yeah. So then so like as a joke, my siblings thought it would be funny to jump on my bed after I make the bed, and I would cry because I used to get so upset that I put the time in.
I mean, I laugh about it, but it's actually like a real thing though.
Yeah. So then I would like get so upset that I took the time and made my bed, and then they messed it up. But when I talk about being a perfectionist, I used to have like such a hard time. Like I don't like my ears, and I always tell you this, that I would never wear my hair up. So then when I would cheerlead or
I like them.
when I would cheerlead or play a sport, like I had to wear my hair up or whatever it was. So like I would do my hair over and over and over again, like until it was perfect without any bumps. And then like, especially when I was working on like school projects or anything that like I had to present or just like had my name on it, it had to be perfect. And if it wasn't, like I would get so upset, and then I just almost break down, even though like there was no reason behind it. I would just get so upset because I'm like, I could do better.
Was it like a standard that you set for yourself, or was it like, what was like, why was that bar so high, and then it had to, and things had to be perfect in your eyes?
I don't know. I just think like innately as a person, I feel like everybody has that. Like you know what you're capable of, and I feel like I always thought about that in my life, like, okay, I could do this better, or I like maybe this isn't exactly what I had in mind. Like that was always my biggest thing. Like when you're thinking in your head, like this is what I want it to look like, and then it doesn't play out like that. Like when you're trying to bring something to life. Like I mean, you could probably relate to that in a creative sense. Like you're like, okay, sure. I showed up to the shoot and I like have this in mind and like the vision I want, and then it's like the budgeted version of that. You're like, oh shit, like that wasn't. And
also, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what I've observed over the past 6 years with you is that there are some people who say that, oh, I have OCD, or I'm a
oh no, I was about to get to OCD in a second.
But well, just from what I've noticed is like things around the house is like, it's normally when you clean, you're extremely meticulous on like how you clean. When you it's more than just, oh, I like having a clean space, and you're just like run the vacuum real quick and like wipe down the counters. It's like you go all in on cleaning, and like I'm not saying that like not saying that to make fun of you. It's just like what I notice is that there are people out there who say, "Oh, I have OCD," or like I'm a perfectionist, and like not to discredit anyone who says that, but there is a level of OCD and perfectionism that if you don't check it, I guess it could be a real problem in someone's life, and it's like it can really weigh you down, and like I've seen that.
Like mine used to be like really bad. It's actually gotten a lot better. Since I would mention I have anxiety, which is like pretty much under control now. That kind of controlled a lot of the things I was doing, and I think OCD is like
it's like a vicious
circle so like
emotion.
An example of that would be not only just like when I would do my room, but like it got to the point too where like I would do the same thing over and over and over and over again, like whether that be like positioning a remote or cleaning a surface of like a counter or like reorganizing my closet or whatever it would be. Like I would do it consistently, even though it didn't need to be done.
Even though it was like already perfect.
Yeah. So I just feel like I would just like, it was almost like I couldn't stop. It was like, I knew it was fine, but it's like, I mean, I know I still do it in certain ways. Like when Caulin will get up to take Winston out at night, or like when he gets up off the couch, like, and he lays on the pillows, like I'll prop the pillows back up.
Yeah, no,
and then
that's and
then he'll come back in, and then like it's like put back together. Like, and I don't get bothered where I used to. Like if he lays on the couch or like the bed, like I'm not like that anymore. But it used to be like crippling, where it dictated my life, and like would bother me so much. But now I feel like I'm a little bit more lenient.
Yeah. So what did you to help others out there who might have OCD or perfectionism or anxiety, what have you done in your life to kind of mediate, or what's the word I'm looking for? To
cope with
it or deal with it, handle it, manage it, whatever. Like, what has worked in your life?
I mean,
and what has not worked in your life?
I mean, I think.
And then while you're talking, I have to plug our laptop in, or else we're not going to be able to record our voices.
Oh.
So,
no, I think talking. For me, I have to think. Well, I had mentioned anxiety, and when I was probably maybe like within the past year, I decided that I was living with extreme anxiety, and you're throwing me off. The movement, I can't. Is that even going to reach that? Oh, okay. And I was dealing with extreme anxiety where it was like every day it would bother me almost to like everything I was doing. And I always had this mindset of like, you can beat your anxiety. It's like you against your anxiety. It's like your brain just like working against you. So I would always do everything that I could to like work myself through situations where like if I was in a situation where I knew I would be uncomfortable, like I would talk myself through that. So I spent a lot of years growing up like really taking time of like, okay, if I'm in this scenario, like how am I gonna deal with this? And like if this happens, how am I going to deal with this? And if this happens, how am I going to do this? And it becomes really taxing on your brain. But as I got older, there was just more things that add on and like would stack up, whether that be like from a relationship standpoint, like work life, and then just like other factors too. I think it just like adds one after another. So I decided that I always was like kind of against being on any type of medication, but then I decided that I should try anxiety medication, which actually helped with my OCD a lot because it like allows me to slow down and be present and not like worry about the little things where before I would be like hyper aware of them, but now I am just like I'm naturally go with the flow, but I feel like now I like don't get as bothered by it, like if it's not a certain way.
Yeah, and
I think that actually
even like I know that my dad has mentioned like to you lately, or like not lately, but this is probably like a year and a half ago. He was just like, oh, like Paris is so calm and she's not preoccupied, and like, and I've seen it work in your life too, where you're very present and you're very aware and you're less like in your own head. So Yeah, I mean, it's worked for you.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't work for everybody, but I think too, like, I mean, the only thing I do have to say is it slows you down so much. Like, I can't ever put out words half the time. I'm like about to say something and then I lose my train
Oh,
of
yeah.
thought. So that is
Yeah, I
definitely a
have noticed that.
downside to that because, like, naturally my brain goes so fast and I'm thinking about so many things. But I just, like, now I feel like I try to put sentences together and they don't make sense and I feel like I can't talk. So that's probably why when you watch this, you're like, what the heck is that girl saying? But no, that's definitely changed me a little bit too. I feel like the way I describe it though is like, it allows you to be, and again, this isn't for everybody, but it allows you to be the person that I feel like you're meant to be. Because if you think about it, like, so many people deal with like panic attacks or anxiety or like anything around that, where it's like everything that you do is heightened. And I'm not saying that anxiety is like it's normal to have anxiety or like a type of anxiety where, like, if you're about to play in a sport like a game or you're about to give a presentation, like, the human body thrives off of that, like,
Yeah.
part of your brain where you're like anxious and it makes you perform. But it was like an everyday thing, like if I was going to get in a car, if I was going to travel, if I was going to school, if I, like, anywhere I went or anything I did. So then it actually got to the point where I was not able to fall asleep because my chest felt like so heavy and I was just like so anxious.
Yeah, I
So
was
then that
hoping that
was
you would hit on that.
yeah, so then that was kind of the point where I was just like, I used to deal with it on a daily basis and I always thought it was manageable, but then I got to the point where I was just ready to feel like I wanted to be able to live my best life. I know people always say that, but
Yeah.
just in a sense of like, I wanted
Not
to feel
be
like I wanted to be who I am, and like it allows me to slow down and like actually be that person. So that's what I like about it. It's not like, I think a lot of people do it as a quick fix, and it's not that. I just had anxiety for like a couple months and was like, I need something. It was something that I've had
yeah,
my
you
whole
wouldn't.
life, and
Yeah.
it helped me at least be more present and be just more natural in who I
Mm-hmm.
was. Because I feel like as you said, like the standards and things like that, like I did set standards for myself, but then that ultimately makes you more anxious as well. And like you think you almost, like, I feel like the best way to describe it, even though I've just given the longest answer, is like who I was then.
It's
I
okay.
used to view myself through other people's eyes and what they thought of me and who I thought they wanted me to be. And then now I view myself through my own eyes, which before
Yeah. No,
I
that's a good way
never
to
did
put it.
that. And now I just like,
Yeah, and
you know,
I
if
mean,
you don't,
I have seen that shift in you where you're very much like, I'm very happy with who I am, and like I'm very confident in who I am and who I want to be, and
mm-hmm.
it's like it's made a huge difference in your life and where you want to go, and how it's going to help our marriage. But yeah, no, it's good.
I'm sweating after that answer. Like
Did
I can
well.
feel the back of my head just heating up.
You did well. Well, it's the lights. It's just hot.
I'm in the
How
hot
warm that
seat.
light is right here and right here.
It's the hot seat.
It is the
Baby.
hot seat. Hey, I was in the hot seat first, and
Mm-hmm.
so then it was only inevitable that you were in the hot seat. But yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, and I mean, like the episode about addiction and all that. If you guys, if you have any questions or if you want to learn more, and or just anything, you just want to chat, or if like you're going through something and like you need someone to talk to, we're more than happy to help you. Or our personal Instagrams will be linked, below, or if you want to message us on our Instagram for the podcast, This Side of Heaven Pod is our Instagram handle. So if you want to message us on there, then we're more than happy to keep it private, and like you'll stay anonymous. We won't like mention you by name or anything. So yeah. So if you need anyone to talk to, we're here for you, and we would love to help you. So it's kind of like a heavier episode, but I don't know. Like I thought it was important for like them to get to know you a little bit more, because there was a lot about me, and I don't really like to talk about myself all that much. But she's also extremely fascinating in her own way. She's highly complex, especially in her brain and the way that she thinks, and like how deep she thinks about things and other people. And like you already mentioned it earlier, you said that you love to know like what makes people tick and how their brains operate. And like I think that just reflects on, you know, like your personality type and all that. But
yeah, maybe a little bit too much, which is not always the best thing. Like
yeah.
when I was younger, before the whole me, my anxiousness, I do have to mention this because I feel like this
Yeah.
like also was like played such a role in my life when I would have a conversation with someone and I'd say something I felt like I shouldn't have said, or said something that I was like, oh, I should have thought about that more. Like I would replay that in my head like a million times. So
Yeah, that was
but yeah, I don't do that
yeah, that is
anymore
one
either.
thing that I did notice early on whenever we started dating again, you know, like 6 years ago. It was like you would get hung up on things and it would just like almost eat away like your soul. You would just lay awake at night until 4, 5, 6 a.m. just thinking about this one thing in your brain. And I was like, why can't you just fall asleep?
Yeah,
I'm
your
like,
brain just
isn't
goes
your
down a
brain
rabbit hole.
tired enough to just want to fall asleep? And you're like, no, I can't. And I didn't understand it for the longest time. But yeah, so I don't know. We might split this up into 2 episodes, like just to keep it moving. But yeah, I mean, it's good. We'll move on to lighter subjects. What's one thing that you're looking forward to in the next year? 5 years, 10 years.
Year.
Yeah.
Getting married and hopefully buying a house.
Okay.
5 years, hopefully, God willing, having children.
Okay.
10 years,
10 years.
Having a chance to not only 10 years would be having a healthy and happy family, but also being able to take our kids to like experience the world, to be able to travel and give them experiences that they wouldn't get elsewhere, like things that they would remember just
I'm
from
on board
being
for
with us.
that because I like to travel.
Yeah. I think that's so important.
Experience new things.
Like there's so many ways to spend your money, but experiences all day.
I like that. What's your biggest fear in life?
Biggest fear? I have a lot of fears.
What's your biggest?
Honestly, this is gonna sound so weird, and I'm not afraid to die by any means, but my biggest fear is like the way in which I will die.
Oh,
which I don't know why, because I always feel like when I had that thing with my throat, when I before I found out I had food allergies, when I always felt like I was couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
I don't know, the thought of choking to death or something like that. I don't know. I always just thought about what
just going slowly.
Yeah, what is that going to be like? And then you always hear about people say, okay, what's one way you never want to die? And it's you never want to die in a fire or drown or things like that. So I think that ultimately freaks me out. I always had dreams where I was suffocating and I never knew why, but weird. But I don't know. I think that like I said, death doesn't freak me out, but the way in which it happened, you just never know.
Huh. It's good. I mean, I obviously have things to say after each one of these questions, but I just want to keep it on you. It's really hard for me because I like to chime in, but and we're gonna wrap this up pretty quick, probably in the next 5 minutes or so. But I want to touch on how you feel about the wedding. Are you nervous, anxious, excited? What are you most looking forward to? What are you least looking forward to? Because we do get married in 58 days.
So I'm very excited. I actually haven't been nervous.
And advice for any women out there who are thinking about getting married, who are engaged, or
okay. Remind me after I
I
answer
will.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm excited. The one thing since we saw the venue last week, the most nerve-wracking part was when we met with the pastor, and I thought that he was going to make us say our vows on the spot, even though I hadn't written any, and I was starting to get sweaty hands, and I was so nervous.
See, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
I was just
he was and I was like, oh my God, is he going to make us just confess our love to each other here at Panera? So I was like, oh my gosh. But no, I'm so excited. Ever since we saw the venue, it just feels so real. And I don't know, I always had this vision when I was younger too, that I thought I was going to get married really young and have a family and just like be
It
at a
never
different stage
happens
in
the way
life. And
you
it
have.
doesn't happen. But I think it's, you ultimately marry the right person who you're supposed to, and no matter what the time span is. So I think it's just like the excitement of us knowing each other for what, like 15 years, and us like always having a connection and now finally getting married.
Yeah.
I think that really excites me in like the next phase of our life. But
Advice
think,
for...
do you want me to say what
Oh,
I'm most
yeah,
nervous about?
yeah. What are you most nervous about for the wedding?
Honestly,
And we can watch this back and say, it really wasn't worth
so
working up over.
if anybody knows me or knows me well, I'm not the best person to walk in heels. And at my
I
senior
think it's
prom,
a fear for a lot of women.
at my senior prom,
Honey, just go with the flats.
No, oh my gosh. At my senior prom, they announced us, and I walked down the steps, but I didn't walk, I fell. And
I didn't even know that.
So I always get nervous that, like, I said to my mom, I need to have like a thick heel because I don't want anything to happen where like my shoe gets stuck on my dress and I like
Cinderella
fall down or
down.
something. Because like, you know, when you're nervous and you're like kind of shaky already, like you're
Yeah.
I feel like that is my biggest fear of like, will I fall or something? That's like, I mean, honestly, I've fallen before in places or like things that are important, and I just like go with the flow. I'm like, oh, whatever, it's funny.
So
I just
funny.
laugh, but I just get nervous that something like that's going to happen.
Huh. Really quick, like 20 seconds. Any advice to brides out there who might be planning a wedding or thinking about planning a wedding? Because you, very admittedly, you've done probably 95% of the work in the wedding planning, and you've been great at it, but there have been some hurdles. 20 seconds, go. Your best advice.
I think that my advice would be not to stress about all the little things. I think for me, like I've been trying to tackle all of the major key components of the wedding that are like portions that you can't do without. So tackling those has been important. But other than that, I think that you just have to enjoy it and really just realize like what's the meaning and why you're getting married. Like it doesn't really matter. And I said this today, it doesn't matter if something's placed the wrong way, or it doesn't matter if they forgot about something. Like you should just be happy that you're getting married to the person you're getting married to, and then that your family and your friends and the people that love you are there. I think that everything else is just a bonus, and not everybody is blessed or, you know, has the means to be able to have a wedding. And I think just having that is a bonus. So
I would agree. Yeah. I had one more question, but it was a fun question. Like where the hard questions are over. Okay. You can exhale. Yeah, if I can't think of it in the next 20 seconds, we'll skip ahead and we can call it a night. But do you think we're gonna get a puppy in the next year?
that's not my wedding gift surprise.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm like torn. I just like, I love Winston, but I don't know. I feel like he just needs a buddy.
Okay.
I mean, I would like to, but I think as much as I look and how excited I get, I think that we need to have a yard because it's so mean to animals that like love to run outside and like
especially
they're born to
so
do
much
like
energy.
And they have so much energy, and you just feel bad when you have such a small space. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, but I would like to have a little bit more space for them to play. So probably wait until that happens, but
perfect.
That'll be in that first year goal.
Perfect.
And then we can actually get a dog together since I only got Winston by myself.
I know, I was mad about that one, but I don't know if I've truly forgiven you for that.
Should I tell that story?
Next episode. Make sure you tune in because we're going to cut it off there. You did a good job, honestly.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You had to go through the gauntlet.
I know. I'm sweating.
I kept it easy-ish.
Good thing I don't have a jacket on today.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you got to know Paris a little bit more and what makes her tick and how it kind of plays into our relationship. And, you know, I was hoping that you would just get an inside look into her brain, who she is and, you know, who we are, you know, like behind the camera and all that. But yeah, so next week, well, no, I do have an idea. I'm probably going to keep it a secret for now, but do have a good idea for next week's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, for a chance to win a $50 gift card to a store of your choice. It could be anything. So do that. We're going to pick a random winner. The details on how to enter will be in the description below. Again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate you watching and being here with us and supporting us, and we love you for it. And
Thank you.
yes,
Till next time.
Until next time on this side of heaven, we're going to sign off, and then we will see you guys then.
Bye.
See ya.